Have you ever had that incredibly jarring experience where you wake up in a completely familiar place, maybe your childhood bedroom or, a house you haven't lived in for decades, but for a few agonizing seconds, your brain just misfires?
Oh, yeah. Like, you just can't orient yourself at all.
Exactly. You feel totally and utterly disoriented. You're trapped in this lingering fog where reality and dreams kind of collide.
Right. And your mind simply cannot stitch the physical world together.
It's the worst feeling. Well, today we are finishing our deep dive into the audio source material of the prologue of In Darkness We Sleep.
Which is produced and presented by Troy St. James.
Right. And our mission today is to unpack this completely surreal, really sensory-heavy transition of our protagonist, Jason.
Let's get into another deep dive of In Darkness We Sleep by Troy St. James. Here we go.
Oh my gosh.
Prologue, Part 8. Jason opened his eyes to a blurry scene, a dark room with the distant murmur of a television. His eyes went to the wall opposite the bed he lay in and saw no flat-panel TV there. He turned to where the window was and saw wooden blinds. Cheap plastic blinds no longer covered the window. To his right, the privacy curtain was gone, and the door to his room was moved and replaced by a sliding closet door. The door to the room was now next to the bed. Overhead was a hanging light instead of long bars of fluorescent lights, and the smell was different. It smelled like fabric softener. Jason slept, dreaming about his mom doing laundry in his childhood home. Jason was a little boy, sitting on his father's bed, debating on whether or not to slide the top drawer of the nightstand. He looked from the bedroom door to the nightstand. The fingers on his right hand tingled with anticipation. Go for it. No one will know. He reached out to the drawer with his right hand and pulled the wooden knob. The drawer slid noisily open, revealing a pair of... Jason! His mom cried out. Jason, wake up! But I only wanted to try them on. Jason fell into the darkness as the dream ended. His mother's voice faded but continued to speak until it was gone. The dark room started to appear again, empty, but filled with voices. They were merely murmurs behind thick walls. Behind their resonance filled the room like a warm fire. It moved around Jason, touching his nose and ears in random swooping motions. More like a warm breath. With blurry eyes, Jason looked up at the ceiling light, which was a replica of a hanging lantern. The glass panels were stained glass set in a brass box, and the light slowly rocked from side to side as if being pushed by an invisible hand. The blinds were turned open, showing the night through the old windows. Their panes were decorated with etched concentric circles. The room was filled with old wooden furniture, stained dark as was popular in the 80s. The bedroom door opened and the room grew darker. Jason fell into the darkness and his head spun so severely that he had to grip the mattress. His left hand failed to clench anything, but it tried valiantly. Suddenly, his eyes sprung open and his heart raced to a panic. Gloria Matherson was sitting next to him, her hand on his, and her eyes swollen with tears. "Mom!" He shook his head clear from the sleep. She rose and smiled. He asked, "You've been here long?" A tear rolled down her cheek. She nodded, and it fell onto his hand. "Mom, I'm okay now. I just forgot where I was." He looked around the room again. the vertical stripes of the wallpaper, the dark stained furniture, the nightstands. How could he forget those? He was lying in his father's bed. He was home. Mom, I'm really need a drink. Thirsty. Please, I'm all dried out inside. Could use a shot of whiskey. She rose without a word and left the room. Jason could hear the water running in the kitchen, and he perked up when she brought in a very familiar juice glass. He scooted up in bed, and his head pounded. His left arm also protested, throbbing at the inside of his elbow. The good news was that his dead arm actually hurt. It may have some life after all. He winced as he pulled himself up and reached out for the glass. Just a sip. His stomach revolted and he spit it back up on the bedding. Jason slumped over in embarrassment and disappointment. Gloria went around the bed where a silver stand held an IV attached to Jason's left arm. She rolled her fingers over a small plastic valve and the drip started. Jason wished he could drink it right out of the tube. He was dying of thirst. He closed his eyes. Someone was talking to him. He knew. And Jason was smacking his lips. I know. His Gloria said in the darkness of Jason's mind. I know. Jason muttered. It hurts. Not for long. Willie's here now. The room started to laugh. Those voices passed the tip of his nose and pushed the funny lantern back and forth like a summer breeze. Jason wanted to laugh too, but something dreadful was in the forefront of his mind. I'm a killer. But it was an accident. The Army knows that, right? It was an accidental killing. Jason started to laugh and the darkness took him. The warm voices in the air were both soothing and haunting. I didn't mean it. Prologue, Part 9. In our dreams, we learn so much about ourselves. For a lucky few, the lessons are meaningful and carry over into the waking hours. For some, the dream is a mini morality play or a chance to look hard at the problems of life. Most dreams are there only in the sleep world, the lessons silently taken and stored away in the subconscious. For the very few, dreams are realities. Dreams are where life is, and the waking hours is a subconscious world. Jason Matherson, the only son of Gloria and John Allen Matherson, teeters between these two worlds.
We're tracking his shift from a highly clinical hospital setting straight into the kind of suffocating nostalgia of his childhood home.
Yeah, and we need to examine this clandestine medical setup that's keeping him alive there. And, I mean, most importantly, we have to dissect this massive cliffhanger confession.
Oh, the confession. It completely flips everything we thought we knew on its head.
It really does.
Oh.
Okay, let's unpack this, because the opening of this sequence is just pure environmental whiplash.
Environmental whiplash is the perfect way to put it.
Right. Because we go from the stark, sterile hospital room we were grounded in earlier right into this hyper-specific 1980s time capsule.
Yeah, the author completely strips away the clinical safety net here. We don't just get told that Jason is confused, right? We are forced into his synaptic lag.
Which is so disorienting for the listener, too.
Exactly. The flat panel TV on the opposite wall, gone.
The privacy curtain is gone.
The harsh fluorescent lights, erased. Instead, the narrative grounds us and Jason in a deeply tactile domestic space.
Yeah, he's looking at wooden blinds instead of cheap plastic hospital shades.
Right, and a sliding closet door replaces the heavy, fire-rated hospital door.
And suddenly he's surrounded by that very specific, dark-stained wooden furniture.
Oh, yeah, the kind that totally defined suburban homes in the 1980s.
Yes. And it's not just visual either. The text really zeroes in on the smell.
The fabric softener.
Exactly. The sharp scent of hospital antiseptic is totally overridden by the distinct, heavy smell of fabric softener.
Which makes you think about the mechanics of memory here.
Oh, totally. Olfactory memory is incredibly powerful.
Because scents bypass the thalamus and go straight to the brain's olfactory bulb.
Right, which is directly connected to the amygdala and hippocampus.
The areas that handle emotion and memory, yeah.
So the smell of fabric softener is quite literally hacking his brain.
Forcing a feeling of safety before his eyes even fully adjust.
But, here is where my mind goes with this. I have to ask, is he actually experiencing this room? Or is his brain creating like a psychological nesting doll to hide from his trauma?
Well, look at the specific details the narrative focuses on to answer that.
Okay.
He notices a replica hanging lantern with stained glass panels and a brass box on the ceiling.
Right. And it's rocking side to side.
As if pushed by an invisible hand.
So creepy.
And then he notices the etched electric circles decorating the window panes.
Yeah.
Those aren't just architectural details. They operate like hypnotic anchors.
Wow. Hypnotic anchors.
Right, because when the human body undergoes catastrophic physical trauma, the brain often seeks refuge in regression.
It tries to construct a sensory environment that signifies absolute safety.
Exactly, usually a childhood space. The text deliberately blurs the line between his waking reality and a trauma-induced hallucination.
So the overpowering comfort of the fabric softener acts as a biological mask.
Yes, a mask for the agonizing trauma his body is currently enduring.
It's like his mind is trying to build a sensory deprivation tank out of nostalgia.
That's a great way to put it.
But, that tank springs a leak almost immediately.
Oh, yeah. The illusion doesn't last.
The illusion of the safe 80s bedroom shatters the second we confront his physical state. And it starts with a dream that just bleeds directly into his waking life.
Right. In this dream, he's a little boy sitting on his father's bed.
And he's staring at the nightstand, debating whether to pull open the top drawer.
His right hand is actually tingling with anticipation.
He grabs the wooden knob, starts to pull it open, and suddenly his mother screams, "Jason, wake up!"
And he immediately gets defensive.
Yeah, protesting that he, quote, only wanted to try them on.
Which is such a weird phrasing. Try what on?
Right. But notice how the transition from the subconscious to the conscious world isn't a clean break at all.
No. The mother's voice from the dream echoes and shifts into the physical room.
He opens his eyes to find his actual mother, Gloria, sitting right next to him.
And her eyes are swollen. She's been weeping.
A physical tear actually falls from her face onto his hand.
Providing a tactile shock that fully anchors him in the room.
And it's in this exact moment he realizes he isn't just in his childhood home.
He is lying flat on his back in his father's bed.
Right. And his immediate physical reality is just brutal. He is overwhelmingly, desperately thirsty.
He tells his mom he's all dried out inside.
So Gloria goes to the kitchen. We hear the familiar sound of the faucet running, and she brings in this very specific, familiar juice glass.
It's the ultimate picture of maternal care.
It really is.
Yeah.
But the second he tries to take a sip, his body completely rejects it.
His stomach violently revolts, and he vomits right onto the bedding.
To me, this is the body's physical rebellion against the psychological illusion of safety.
Absolutely.
His brain is saying, "You are home. Drink from the juice glass."
But his gastrointestinal tract, which is likely shut down from extreme shock or heavy narcotics,
Violently reminds him he is broken.
the rejection of the water is the pivotal moment the domestic illusion drops.
Because right after he vomits, Gloria moves around the bed, and the narrative reveals the reality of his situation.
She operates a small plastic valve on a silver 7 stand.
Attached to a line running directly into Jason's left arm.
And she just casually mentions, Willie's here now.
Wait, okay, we need to pause on this.
Mm.
Because they have a silver Vashes stand operating in a childhood bedroom.
Yeah.
They are running a rogue ICU. I mean, think about the sheer logistics of that.
It's intense, sourcing intravenous fluids, managing sterile lines.
Adjusting drip rates without a sophisticated monitoring system.
This isn't just a mother caring for a sick kid.
No. This requires an immense level of resources and, more importantly, an immense level of desperation.
Right. You don't pull a critically traumatized patient out of a sterile, fully staffed hospital environment unless staying in that hospital poses a bigger threat than a deadly infection.
Exactly. They aren't just caring for him. They are actively hiding him.
And the clandestine nature of the setup completely recontextualizes Gloria.
It totally does.
She transforms from a comforting, weeping mother into an active operative in a highly dangerous medical cover-up.
And the text brilliantly uses Jason's physical pain to underscore the stakes here.
Right, when he tries to sit up to take that drink, his head pounds.
But the critical detail is his left arm.
Oh, right. Earlier in the prologue, his left hand tries to grip the mattress and completely fails.
So it, quote, tries valiantly.
Right, but now the inside of his elbow is throbbing with intense pain.
That is the ultimate cruel irony of his situation.
It really is.
The quote-unquote good news in this grim scenario is that his dead arm is radiating agony.
Because pain is the only metric they have for life.
Right. If it hurts, the nerves aren't completely severed.
If it hurts, he might recover.
So he is forced to celebrate his own agony because the alternative is paralysis.
The juxtaposition the author uses here is staggering.
It really is.
You have the familiar, nostalgic juice glass colliding violently with the clinical, invasive silver Savi drip.
Mashing together a suburban sanctuary with an underground trauma ward.
And this isolation fundamentally changes the narrative tension.
How so?
Well, he isn't just physically broken. He is entirely dependent on a clandestine setup that operates in the shadows.
Right. He has no call button. He has no doctors.
He only has Gloria, Willie, and whatever drugs are dripping into his veins.
And because he is physically trapped in that bed, tethered to an IV pole, and undoubtedly pumped full of intense painkillers, his brain has absolutely nowhere to go but inward.
Right.
Which triggers a complete fracturing of his reality, leading to this fascinating philosophical exploration of consciousness in the text.
Oh, the part about the nature of dreams.
Yes. The narrative pulls back and examines this. It suggests that for most of us, dreams are just mini morality plays.
Right. They're safe spaces where the brain runs simulations to solve daily problems and then files those lessons away in the subconscious.
But the text explicitly states that for a very select few, the paradigm is flipped.
The dream becomes the reality.
Exactly. The dream is where actual life happens, and the waking hours become the subconscious world.
And Jason, we are told, teeters right on the edge of these two worlds.
This is where we see the psychological concept of derealization taking hold, isn't it?
Absolutely. When physical trauma and environmental displacement become too extreme for the conscious mind to process, the brain begins to treat the waking world as a fiction. By establishing that Jason is living more authentically in his dreams than in his waking life, the narrative lays the groundwork for a massive internal breach.
Because when your waking life becomes your subconscious, your conscious defenses,
The mental walls you build to hide your darkest secrets from yourself.
they are completely deactivated.
Exactly.
It's like waking up during major surgery. Anesthetic awareness.
Oh, that's a terrifying comparison.
Right. You are physically paralyzed, unable to interact with the world, but your mind is fully awake and wandering through a terrifying, unprotected landscape.
And we see this happen to Jason through these incredibly intense auditory hallucinations.
Yes. While he's teetering in this bed, he starts hearing murmuring voices behind the thick walls of the house.
But they aren't just distant sounds.
No, the text describes the voices filling the room like a warm fire or a warm breath swooping around his nose and ears.
And they eventually shift into a laughter that is both soothing and haunting.
And these voices are physically pushing that stained glass lantern back and forth on the ceiling like a summer breeze.
The tactile nature of those hallucinations is crucial.
Yeah, he isn't just hearing voices, he is feeling them on his skin.
His somatosensory cortex is misfiring, projecting his profound internal chaos into the physical space of the room.
Because the human mind abhors a vacuum.
Exactly. Deprived of normal sensory input and isolated in this makeshift clinic, his brain attempts to populate the void.
But because those conscious defenses we discussed are completely down, the void isn't filled with comforting memories.
No, it is filled with the very elements he has been desperately trying to suppress.
The laughter isn't joyful. It's a manifestation of a deeply buried psychological threat, mocking his current paralyzed state.
Which brings the entire house of cards crashing down.
It really does. It is precisely this perfect storm, the surreal environment of the 80s bedroom, the throbbing pain of his regenerating nerves, the heavy IV medications.
And the total collapse of his conscious defenses.
Right. All of that triggers the massive bombshell of this prologue.
The climax.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Amidst all these tactile laughing voices swirling around his head, Jason actually wants to laugh along with them.
But something dreadful, something heavy, forces its way to the very front of his mind.
In his internal monologue, he makes a confession. He says, "I'm a killer." But it was an accident. The Army knows that, right? It was an accidental killing.
And right before he passes out, slipping back into the darkness, his final thought is, I didn't mean it.
I mean, that internal confession fundamentally rewires the entire narrative structure you've been building in your head.
It changes everything.
We went from smelling fabric softener and analyzing maternal care to an accidental military killing in about 10 minutes.
It's wild.
And the specific mention of the military, the Army knows that, right? It suddenly makes the logistics of this road clinic snap into terrifying focus.
Oh, absolutely. Gloria and Willie aren't avoiding a hospital because of insurance or because they prefer home care.
They are hiding from the military.
Gloria isn't just a worried mother. She is actively harboring a fugitive.
Or the Army is covering this up. Either way, the tone of his internal monologue reveals a profound level of paranoia.
Right. The Army knows that, right? Is the plea of a man trying to convince himself of a lie.
Up until this exact moment, you have viewed Jason exclusively through the lens of empathy.
He's a victim. He woke up in agony, confused, being cared for by a weeping mother.
But with those words, "I'm a killer," he is instantly recast as the perpetrator.
He isn't recovering from a random tragedy. He is the architect of one.
The narrative reveals that his physical consignment in that bed is mirrored by his psychological confinement within his own guilt.
He is a prisoner in every possible sense of the word.
A prisoner of his broken body, a prisoner in a clandestine medical safe house, and a prisoner of his own repressed actions.
That's true.
So, as we step back and look at the whole picture of this prologue, the journey is just staggering.
It really is.
We started with the sheer environmental whiplash of moving from a sterile hospital to a nostalgic 1980s childhood bedroom.
We watched the illusion of safety shatter as his body rejected a simple glass of water.
Revealing a terrifying rogue fourth setup hidden in plain sight.
And we explored the deeply unsettling concept of waking life becoming the subconscious, where hallucinations manifest as warm breath in the dark.
And it all culminated in a military confession that forces us to realize the man we've been rooting for is an accidental killer on the run.
The prologue masterfully demonstrates how our environment shapes our perception of reality.
Yeah.
And how fragile the human mind becomes when you strip away its familiar anchors.
Jason believed he was waking up in a sanctuary,
Only to realize the comfort of his childhood home was actually a cage.
constructed by his own repressed guilt and the desperate actions of those trying to protect him from the consequences of his actions.
It's a terrifying thought.
It really is. We've all had moments of waking up confused, waiting for our brains to catch up to our surroundings. But imagine waking up to the realization that your own mind is the thing you need to hide from the most.
Yeah, that's heavy.
As we wrap up this deep dive into Troy St. James's material, I want to leave you with one final lingering thought to dissect on your own.
Okay.
Let's circle all the way back to that dream Jason had right before he woke up.
Oh.
He was a little boy, sitting on his father's bed. His right hand was tingling as he reached for the nightstand drawer.
And when his mother screamed for him to wake up, he got defensive.
He protested, "I only wanted to try them on."
Right.
We just established that for Jason, dreams are his true reality. His subconscious is trying to tell him the truth.
So if that is the case,
What exactly was in that father's nightstand drawer?
what was a little boy trying on?
And how does it directly connect to the guilt of the accidental killing he just confessed to?
Wow.
Hold on to that thought as you navigate your own day.
This is Troy. I wanted to thank you for listening and hope that you tune in for my weekly presentation of In Darkness We Sleep. Vocals by Eric Neubauer and Troy St. James. Music and episode art provided by Robert McNichol. I can be contacted directly at troystjames@cox.net. Join me on Facebook or follow on Twitter at Troy St. James. This audio podcast is produced by Troy St. James, copyright 2012. Have a good night.